Hello, everyone, and welcome to our leadership culture and brand impact conversation. I'm Dan, and I am so excited for our guest speaker today, who's a powerhouse executive whose career spans law firms, major brand turnarounds, CEO leadership across multiple industries. She brings valuable insight from a career spent leading organizations through growth, change, transformation, and at the highest level. She has accomplished so much that we don't even have time to list them all. But my favorite accomplishment that she has done is Michelle Obama telling her, "You've got some guns on you." So
Yes.
let's find out how we can get those guns too. Everyone, put your hands together for the great and powerful Chelsea Grayson. Chelsea, how are we doing today?
I'm doing just great. Thank you. I mean, my gosh, that what an introduction. I'm telling you, I got to come here every single day.
Or what happened is I will follow you around and then you'll just go, Dan. Well,
Exactly.
well, that's
Everybody
good.
needs everybody needs a hype man like Dan for sure.
I could do it. Yes, absolutely. I'm with you. Well, I'm glad you're having a good day and a good morning. So tell me, how does the great Chelsea Grayson start her day?
Oh boy. I mean, fitness is scheduled into every single day, period. Whether I tell people or not, there's just a calendar block. I talk about this all the time. And that is just space that I've reserved for myself. So today I start off with a 7 a.m. soul cycle. I love soul cycle. I've been doing it for years and years and years. So typically start off with fitness. Yesterday I did a weightlifting class. Day before I started with a hot Pilates class. So typically you'll see me starting with fitness if I don't have a board meeting, first thing. But that's my favorite. Well, very first thing is I take a shot of espresso and I play with my little cat a little bit. She's a little love. It's just the two of us rattling around in here like marbles. But then I do the fitness.
I love the animals, just pure
Yeah.
love and joy.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And I did one Pilates class recently and I almost died.
Yeah,
So
no, it's much more difficult. It just looks like a bunch of women in there stretching, but it's much more difficult than that. And
and
listen, I'm 54, so at the, it's like you really, yes, there's the trope about leaning into all sorts of protein and all of that. You definitely have to do that not to lose muscle mass, but it is so vitally important just to continue with fitness as we age and go through menopause and everything. To all you ladies out there, it's going to happen to all of us. If you're lucky, menopause is going to happen to you. And if you just ease into it, continuing to lean into your fitness, even if that has to evolve and change as you get a little bit older, it will serve you.
you spoke of soul cycle, you said, right? In the
Yeah.
morning. So for those who don't know what that is, what is that you exactly do?
Oh, I mean, it's just indoor spin, but you're all on the rhythm. It's very different from other spin classes. So, you're on the beat together. You're on the exact same foot. It's very coordinated, it's very choreographed. So it's very beautiful. If you look at it in the mirror during one of those classes, and we all feel very powerful doing it. The music is amazing. I'm usually on the podium, actually. So I'm the, person up on the stage that the instructor is using as the example, and it just makes me feel powerful.
Wonderful.
Gives me a good sweat. Yeah. And then I can just do the rest of my day because I've worked it all out, all the anger, all the ego,
I
all the
like that.
stuff, all the noise, all of the fluff and everything. I've cleared the decks by the time I hit my first meeting and I'm good.
Now, in March, you went on the exit interview and said a good
Mhm.
CEO wants their board to tell them like it is. So here at the
Mhm.
LA Film School, we have film students in all areas of entertainment. How can they take that tip and apply it to their business when they're starting out with no connections?
Yeah, but still, you always have to tell truth to power. I think especially in this day and age when authenticity is so leaned into and admired and respected and authenticity resonates so much, just even when you're talking about like from a marketing perspective, when you're marketing a brand, that's how you truly engage with your customers. Actually, that's how leaders and leadership respond today. They want to hear the truth. They want to hear you tell it like it is. They truly want to understand what's happening at all levels because that leader, that CEO that you're telling truth to has a board they have to report to. And if they don't know actually what's happening, there starts to become dissension in the ranks and they're not up on it and they haven't preempted all of that risk, their board is going to find out about it and that CEO will be out. So leadership absolutely has to be in touch with folks at all levels of the organization and all levels of the hierarchical chain. And they want to hear what you have to say, as long as you say it in a respectful and collegial and honorable way. That's it.
I love that. That is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't, I think that I'm going to steal this a little bit, though I've been brewing on this concept a bit, but I heard somebody say it better than me recently, so I'll say it how she said it. I think that leaders today are allowing folks coming up through the ranks and allowing folks on their teams to make more mistakes and not hit their KPIs as perfectly as the sort of higher standards that we once required them to hit before. Not that they don't want you to be great, not that they don't expect you to help the organization succeed, but they sort of want you to lean into failure just as they are funding their R&D group in their organization, right? You want R&D to continue. You're paying your R&D people to fail every single day until they get it perfect. And I think most leaders today want to hear about the hiccups. They want to hear about where you didn't quite make the mark. They want to hear about where you had to pivot a bit, even at the lowest levels of the organization, because that's truly how they're going to improve the whole thing, DNA up. People, leaders are no longer allowed to sort of walk about their day giving high platitudes about what we need to do up here. They absolutely have to drop down into every single level of the organization. So you treat everybody like it's like they are their own little R&D department and allow them to fail and allow them to explain to you why they failed and how they're going to make it better the next time. And that is how leaders are truly succeed now at the top of the organization.
I love that. That is awesome. One of my favorite things from that on your Instagram, I looked at that a lot. So, what lessons from turning around American Apparel do you think apply to TV and film projects that are struggling creatively or financially?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, communication, 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 communication. It does not work for a bunch of people in suits to sit around in a boardroom any longer and figure out how they're going to fix the organization and then just go. You have to have clear, regular, transparent, frequent communication with everybody throughout the organization so you can weaponize everybody. First of all, nobody wants to hear about what's happening on a production or at their studio or, whatever through headlines. Nobody wants to hear their studio just got bought by
Mm.
Netflix unless they were told first, right? You start to feel like a cog in the wheel or a fungible billing unit. So if you inform people right at the top, here's strategically what we're thinking about doing. Anybody have any other ideas? And also, here's how you can pitch in. Again, people become weaponized and activated. And I truly think that that's how productions and studios function best when everybody's in the room and everybody feels like they're a part of the solution. And that's what we did at American Apparel. First and foremost, I, when I was the CEO, I spent very little time in my office in my chair. I spent most of my time walking around, not just the corporate people, but through all of them. Remember, we were vertically integrated. We made everything ourselves in and around downtown Los Angeles. We had 7 factories and warehouses and distribution centers. Like we made our own thread and dye. Okay. And I just walked around from factory to factory every single day and just put my ear to the ground and listened to what everybody was saying. And so, and then I would generate every single week, I would generate a report. Either I would just talk to folks or I would generate, an actual email and send it company wide. And we were public. So I had to be a little careful about how it got disclosed. And I would just let people know, here's what happened this week. Here's what I heard. Here's how we're going to activate on that for this next week. And here's how you can help and give me a ring if you want to discuss. And I answered all calls. I answered all emails. I mean, Sean, from because you and I are on social together, I answer every single comment that comes my way on my TikTok account. So I'm telling the truth. I responded to every single piece of feedback that people gave me, and we incorporated all of that. There were no surprises. People knew exactly what was coming down the pike, and they knew how to help. And if they didn't like it, they also knew that they were free to go, and that was fine too. I had no ego about it. I didn't think that I was offering perfect solutions. So there was that. There was also this idea of nothing is indispensable or, nothing is sacred. So, at American Apparel, we had amassed so many things, so many SKUs. We had amassed so many stores. We had amassed billboards all over the place. I mean, it was just all the things all the time. It was like a clown had vomited on the whole company. It was just like streamers and confetti and balloons and blah, blah, blah all over the place. And that, you can't run a company like that. You can't run a production like that. You have to figure out what do we need here versus what do we want? What do we absolutely need if you're in distress anyway, right? If you have all the money in the world, you can have all your wants. And so we had to make really critical and tough decisions about which SKUs to reduce and manage and which stores to close, even though it was really nice to have a store there. And it was really fun to walk past that store there, and it was an ego play when you saw your name on the store. That store isn't profitable. We don't need that store. Let's figure out a way to get out of it. And again, same thing with production, with because you're asking sort of how does this relate to entertainment? Same thing. If
Right.
you feel like notwithstanding your vision and your art feels sort of like, well, gosh, we need to spend all of our money and all of our time on this particular thing. If that really doesn't contribute to the ultimate goal of keeping this company or this production alive so it can actually see the light of day and it can entertain people, or change people's lives or provide people with our product or service, if that's the end goal, and also to keep all of these people their jobs that were on this production or working at this studio or working at my company or whatever, keep all of those jobs for those folks. If those are the main goals, some things might have to go if you're in distress and you just have to make good decisions about how to make that happen.
I like that. Some things have to go. That's good.
Yeah.
So, is there an early moment or a challenge that had the biggest impact on how you approach your leadership and your decision making now?
There were so many, I mean, there have been so many different moments, the first partner, when I was just a baby associate, just a first year lawyer, coming into my firm where I ultimately made partner, I worked for the oldest partner in the firm. He was about to retire and he was taking on one last associate to train before he left. And I was that person. So I'm 24, 20, whatever I was, 25, and he's 66, you know?
Oh, that had to be awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. And
Yeah.
I really leaned into the opportunity. And you might think that the most valuable things I took from him were the meat and potatoes of deal work and how to buy and sell a company and what's a security and all of those things. But it was actually, he just sat me down one day and he said, you have to approach your practice with honor and with dignity. And at the end of the day, if you've betrayed your core values, you really haven't done much. And your core values could evolve and change over the years as they're wont to do as we get older and more seasoned and we learn a little bit about things and what's important. Said, but you always have to keep that as your North Star. Do everything with honor and with dignity. And as long as you lean into every situation by, like I said at the top, taking your ego off the table. This is business, not personal. Business might be the thing you do more than anything you do in your personal life, but it's still business. At the end of the day, we are still running something for somebody else, even if it's your own business. Even when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, that was still somebody else's the minute he launched it. Other people work there. He's serving other people. This is business, not personal. Take your ego off the table, do what's right for the organization, what's right for this community that you've created with this business. Um, Try to say yes to as many things as possible. It's really easy to say yes once you start doing it, and you'll realize that a lot of things you become entrenched in every day are things that you don't actually need to cling on to. You're fighting battles that you don't need to fight. You can say yes, and then you can get a compromise on that yes. You can get something you need out of that yes. Meanwhile, the person on the other side is going to become a lot more flexible and a lot more soft in the rest of that negotiation. For example, you even if somebody's coming at you with animosity and toxicity, it's so easy just to respond to that 6 paragraph email they just shot at you for the record, and you know that they're going to hold on to that as a piece of paper, against you in the future or whatever. It's so easy just to figure out the things in that email that I can easily say yes to and end that email with all the very best. Have a great weekend or something. It totally sucks the wind right out. When you're playing tug of rope or tug of war, you can't do that unless somebody's at the other end, right? So if you just let the rope go, it's remarkable how easy things become. And then, in addition to that situation becoming ameliorated and much easier, and you're probably going to get more than what you thought you were going to be able to get out of that particular situation, your reputation just improved 20-fold. That person is probably going to speak about you quite positively on down the road in a room that you're not even in. So it just dividends out for you. The more you can say yes to, the more you can take your ego off the table, the more you can just lean into, better.
I absolutely love that. Yes, I think if more people did that, we would have less wars in the world.
Here, here.
Yes.
Why aren't we running things?
That's it. Chelsea, we'll take over. That's it. So coming from a legal background into executive leadership, what helped you adapt and prove yourself in new industries? And what advice would you give to film students trying to enter a very competitive industry with little experience but just school?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, if you've gotten to this particular place in life where people are offering these opportunities to you, so when I was offered the opportunity to jump from the law over to business, then you belong there. So don't wonder about your ability or your skills or am I qualified or I'm an imposter or anything like that. If you're being offered this, you could still fuck it up, excuse my language. You know, you might we all
No, we're
fail.
gonna have fun now that you said that. Now we're friends.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I made a lot of mistakes. It's not like I've taken every opportunity and just maximized it, but you deserve to be there. So figure out why they picked you. You clearly have those skills
Mhm.
already, even if they're not perfectly honed, even if you still have to mature in season, you have those things. So, I mean, as a lawyer, I was a particular kind of lawyer. So if you recall, I was a lover, not a fighter. I was not a litigator. I did deals. I was a transactional lawyer. So I was there to put companies together, to contribute to the economy moving forward. So first of all, there's that, and that's obviously very important in business. Typically, it's about how can we get together and make more money. So I had that already. I had already learned a whole bunch. I had sort of had a street MBA because, again, I'm dealing so much with transactions and with why these companies financially should be together, and here's how to integrate them properly, and here are the redundancies we need to cut. What have you? Here's what we need to do their financial statements to figure out, which costs we need to cut or whatever. I kind of had a lot of those, concepts already under my belt. And the first year I was at American Apparel when I was the general counsel, most of the business came to my door because we were engaged in so many things that touched the law. $500 million worth of litigation. We were trying to do a workout with our bondholders, which were just a bunch of hedge funds led by Goldman Sachs, negotiating with the SEC, because they had an inquiry into the company, those things. So I talked to a lot of the business folks in the course of that first year there when I should have just been handling traditional law stuff in the ordinary course. That's what I would have been doing. So I got to know the business really well and all of the business folks. So they trusted me, I trusted them. I was trying to facilitate them operating their little, their lanes, while we were going through this incredible distress. And they sort of saw that. So I had the trust in the ear of the rest of the company. I knew the business folks. I understood how their lanes worked. So it was quite an easy transition, actually, once I was offered the CEO gig. So I feel like, whatever it is that you guys are going to, go on to do, just reach into your toolkit. You've got it already. Otherwise, they wouldn't be opening this door for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to pound that door open, right? If you didn't already have those schools or those tools and those skills. So just figure out what that was and just use that.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I even, it's like you might even look and say, well, gosh, she was a lawyer and then she ran two retail apparel companies, but then she ran a tech company that owned dating apps. Then now she sits on the on the board of a company that's in food service, and she was on the board of a company that was in fitness. She was on the board of a cosmetics company. Man, she's all over the place. Yes, I'm industry agnostic for sure, but I'm not all over the place. There are some basic foundational things that I've got that are maybe not unique to me, maybe they are, that have served me in every single one of those roles that have remained
Mm.
a throughway, throughout that whole period. So just figure out what those things are for you.
That is awesome. I love that. And before we get to the Q&A with our students, I want to ask you a final question. Personally, I'd like to stay here all day. That would be awesome.
I'll come back.
Uh, yeah, okay, that sounds good. I will hold you to it. In today's crowded and fast-changing media landscape, what makes a or a studio or creative brand truly stand out? Because in a lot of the programs here, a lot of the last class is usually about your brand. So what
Yeah.
makes these brands truly stand out? And you have done so much, and they've all succeeded. So I think you'd got some good insight for that.
Yeah, I mean, the most successful brands I've been with, have had initially a person who created that brand, who that was that person's passion. That person had an absolute authentic reason for starting that company, even if that person is no longer there, or no longer runs that company. That initial spark, that initial DNA has been woven throughout. And so just as the DNA of your ancestors has been there for thousands and thousands of years, and you're just the end product, that's what that company is today. So American Apparel and True Religion, these were heritage legacy brands, you know, that just continued to survive throughout. So I think the way that you start, I think the initial seed that's planted has to come from a place of authenticity, particularly today when consumers can easily get online and figure out who owns this, who's on the board, who runs it, what's the point, what are they really doing, People actually care about that stuff and they activate on that with their dollars these days. That has to then come through. This is a trope, but that has to come through in the marketing. You've just got to somehow communicate that properly. And then on the cynical side, it's not all roses, right? On the cynical side, you got to take all that shit and properly weaponize it with performance marketing. There is just no other way. You have to have state of the art digital marketing. When I translate this over to the film industry, to the film and TV industry, even the Oscars is a marketing race, right? I mean, there are great people, there are great films, there are great things that should have been recognized a lot more or at all over the things that ultimately got recognized. But there are marketing campaigns behind all of those. I don't think that terrible films or terrible people win these awards. I just think maybe not always the best things or people win these awards. And
Yeah.
that's because they have a machine behind them, And so, and the same thing, is true with brands. If you're not out there actively weaponizing with great state of the art performance and digital marketing, you're just going to lose the race. If you don't have a grip on, how to
So
do
you
that.
need
That's
state of
why
the art. You
you
can't
need state of
just
the
do the
art.
best you can. Has to be state of the art and the best.
Yeah, because it changes every single day. And there's people out there that are available to give this to you. I never, and I say this as a 54-year-old woman, okay? So I say this notwithstanding, it's not in my
You don't
best
look
interest.
54, by the way.
Thank
Just
you
so
very much.
everyone's saying
No?
that. Everyone's saying if this is what I look at 54, I'll look better when I was 32.
Guys, look at all this gray hair. Hello.
Yeah. I liked that post that you talking about your
Thank
transition
you.
into that hair color.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
whole thing, but thank you very much. But
Yes, you got that. Everyone, come on, give her hearts to
thank
that.
you. But I just think like you don't hire, people who are 30-year veterans into your marketing group, right? You got to hire a, 25 to 30-year-old who just learned all this stuff and they continue to learn this stuff. You just have to do
Yeah.
that. So I think a lot of this is about that. And again, I think a lot of, and particularly in your industry and film and TV or just entertainment generally and media, I think a lot of it is, also about being sort of, I'm going to say the word irreverent, but it's so much more nuanced and layered than that. Irreverent in terms of I'm not standing on principle. Again, I'm not standing on my ego. I'm not waiting for these particular pieces to fall in place or this particular checklist to all be checked. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm moving ahead with this thing. I'm doing this thing, and you guys can catch up with me afterward,
Hmm.
or I'm going to do this in a very non-traditional way. And you are going to have to you're just going to have to come along for the ride, and I think that more and more this is being accepted today in all sorts of industries, you know, but I do think that people are starting to eschew sort of traditional rules and sort of this is the way it's always done. And those are the things that are truly becoming successful.
I like what you're saying about no ego, especially in the entertainment business, which has the biggest ego in the world. But
It
no
does.
ego, tell it like it is. I absolutely love that.
It does. It does have big egos, and I think, but it's like those are kind of the suits that get in the way of everything. If you look to the content, you look to the art, and you look to the soul behind all of that, and you can
Mm.
truly peel away all the rest of the layers. And by the way, I'm a suit. I mean, I come at this from a corporate perspective, so I'm saying notwithstanding all of that. But I think that it's there, and I actually think that there is a time is coming here where we're returning a little bit more to the art and people are understanding that we don't need to be run, that this particular industry doesn't have to be run by corporate America, which is why all the streaming services are doing so well these days, right? With the content, and the rest of the traditional studios are
Yeah.
seeing a day of
Yeah.
reckoning a
We're
little bit.
losing movie stars because they're all going to streaming service.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Chelsea, I want to talk to you and take up all your time, but not care about the other students so much. But I guess I have to take some questions. So, students right now, put your questions into the chat, and the great and powerful Chelsea, I will read them to her and answer. We'll get some good questions. Now is your time. You have the CEO extraordinaire here, turned American Apparel around. I
And
put
listen,
your name.
if you guys are shy about questions, you can always, Sean knows, he picked me up on TikTok. So I have a little, I sort of do bite-sized little business and career, videos over there. If you guys follow me over there and put a question in one of my comments, I answer every single question over there. And if you guys have ideas about things you want me to post, I post people's suggestions all the time too.
So while they're getting the questions, this is a question I ask a lot of people. So we got a lot of people here about to graduate. If you can go back to your younger Chelsea, about to graduate, you went to UCLA and then you got your JD, which I learned now what a JD was. What advice? I had no idea it was something. What advice would you give yourself?
Don't be so anxious. You are the shit. You are the shit, girl. Don't stress out behind the scenes. You're not an imposter. You know, people around you believe in you even more than you could possibly know. You're
Mhm.
doing it right.
That is awesome. And I do have a question. What is a phrase or quote you say to yourself every day as you prepare for the day's challenges?
Believe it or not, I actually say that to myself all the time, but I
Oh,
also
like you
kind
just,
of you are the shit, girl. Like nobody does.
I love
I
that.
always just I say to myself all the time in the shower, like nobody can do what you do. You are irreplaceable. Nobody can do what you do. You do this great. But I also just, every day I just say, I have abundance, I have health, I have happiness, I have success, I have love, I have family. I have, not I want, not I need, not I aspire to, but I have these things. So I sort of say that to myself all the time. I definitely live an abundance mindset. I grew up with poverty mindset. I grew up in a house of love and like beautiful warmth and culture, and my parents did the absolute best for me, but we didn't have. And I absolutely refuse to be tied to a poverty mindset. So I live in absolute abundance mindset. I drink that bottle of wine right now that somebody gave me instead of saving it for the special occasion. I go on the trips that I want to exactly when I want to go on those trips. I do those things for myself today because it's going to come again tomorrow. Like I will gather more root, like I'll gather more money tomorrow to make the next thing happen, or I'll have more energy tomorrow. I'll take two soul cycle classes in a row on a Saturday and then a bar class. And tomorrow I'll have more energy to take more classes. I'm not going to run out of energy. I'm not going to run out of money. I'm not going to run out of success. I'm not going to run out of what makes my brain tick. It's in perpetuity.
Yeah, I love the things you're saying that, you forget just, get up and exercise, get up, play with your animal. I mean, that's just, and be your authentic self. Just simple things that are so powerful. I
Yeah, it's a
absolutely love
mindset.
that. And we
Yeah.
have another question from another student, Miss Warren. She says she currently works in broadcasting as a regional sales assistant at a news station. What are some tips that could help her move up the ladder within the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, you work in an industry where people get paid to speak for a living. People are on camera for a living. People have to have presence. They are getting paid for their presence. You have to have presence. You absolutely have to speak with authority. You have to have great posture. Walk into every room slowly and enter the room and pause for a second and scan the room. You belong there. They were waiting for you to walk into that room. In that industry, presence speaks to people. Authority speaks to people. So you have to carry yourself in every room, in every meeting with that authority and presence.
So we have another question. So, a student said that they Googled fewer than 5% of people who pursue a career in entertainment actually achieve long-term financial ability, with the
Yeah.
vast majority experiencing unemployment. In your
Yes.
vast career, what are some actions? Because when you're successful, I think that can apply, especially your kind of success and coming from humble beginnings, which I love you even more now. Because when you come from humble beginnings, you're a true self-made person. So what are some actions film students can do so they could be that 5%?
It's a rough industry, y'all. I can't lie. I can't sit here. I mean, we could all read the headlines, you know. I mean, depending on what you're reading, you know, particularly here in LA, we've sort of been ravaged. But everything is cyclical. My dad, the reason why we had no money when I was growing up is because my dad was in aerospace. He was an aerospace engineer here in Southern California.
Oh,
So there was a boom time when it was Rockwell and they were building all the space shuttles here. And, you know, this aerospace was the local industry along with entertainment. And then that just went completely away and everybody lost their jobs. And my dad was unemployed for a really long time, you know, and scrambling around for other things that he could do. But guess what? Now SpaceX is head like it or love it. Like or love Elon, okay? SpaceX is headquartered here. That's huge for us. We have all sorts of peripheral aerospace companies that are headquartered here as well that manufacture all the components that have to go into everything. I mean, we are now again an aerospace hub. Things are cyclical, you know, so you're going to have to figure out a way to survive the downtimes in the entertainment industry. And, you know, it's not just the entertainment industry that touches media and broadcasting, that touches creative, that touches marketing, figure out what are the skills you're building in the industry that you love, in the industry that you want to work in as a main thing, but figure out in those tough times, how can I parlay those skills into these other places and make sure you
hmm.
get gigs in those places so your resume speaks for itself and you can continue to get that work. Try to do as much as you can as a 1099 wherever you go. If you get stuck in a W-2 life, you don't have as much flexibility, although I am happy to say a lot of employers these days are allowing their W-2 folks to go off and do a podcast or go off and do their whatever, and they're allowing that sort of flexibility and they're being more forgiving about those side gigs, but it's still not a perfect system. So stay at 1099 as much as you can everywhere so you can have a bunch of things going on at once. We have amazing bandwidth these days. I think because of just technology, we can do a lot more in a day for better or for worse than we used to. So just maximize those hours.
I love that. Absolutely. Stay 1099. It inspires me because I've
But pay your
stayed
taxes.
1099.
Yeah, but just make sure you pay your taxes because that's always
Yeah.
tough as a 1099.
My dad was a CPA, so
Oh, there you
he,
go.
yeah,
Okay.
so I definitely know about that. We have one final question from our man, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
And, and what is a skill you had to develop as a CEO that your previous leadership roles never required?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I had to, I really did have to learn that communication piece that I talked about earlier. Um, you know, as a lawyer, for sure, you have to communicate your guidance to your client, of course, and you have to receive and hear what they're saying to you so you can make bespoke recommendations to them. But then you're off doing your thing. You're doing your research, you're writing your document, you're, you know, with your associates and you're all speaking the same language, which to anybody else sounds like a totally foreign language, you know? And so you're very, very in within yourself for a lot of the day. And so when I became a CEO, that is a very extroverted job. It's a very alienating job too. It's the loneliest job on the face of the planet because you're really sitting there by yourself. I mean, you've got people who report to you that you can't lose their confidence by asking them questions all the time or looking anxious or wringing your hands. And similarly, you've got a great board of directors with all these incredibly gifted people and amazing Rolodexes, but you can't ask them for too much because they'll start to lose confidence in you. So you're really an island unto yourself. But notwithstanding that, you also have to be incredibly extroverted. You absolutely have to talk to people all the time. You have to reach across the aisles into all of your business lanes. And you have to make sure that the whole company in American Apparel was 10,000 people. True Religion was similar, Spark Network's a little bit less, but you have to make sure all those people are rowing in the same direction with you. You know, I mean, you're responsible for this thing. And so they all have to understand what you're doing and you have to understand what they're doing. And that was the toughest part for me because I just like to sit and just kind of do my thing and having to constantly express to people what I was thinking and to get their feedback was exhausting for me, but it's a huge part of what makes a good leader, And I think also just listening to everybody, trying to build some consensus and some through lines between everybody's opinions, but then making a decision and rolling. And then accepting if that was a bad decision, accepting that you might need to pivot and have some egg on your face, but just being decisive and letting people know you heard them and maybe you took their opinion and maybe you didn't, but this is the way we've decided to go. Let's roll. That is tough because everybody wants everybody to like them all the time. We're human beings and that's how it is. And that's just not how it's going to be if you're truly an effective leader.
Chelsea, thank you very much. That was an awesome question. Thank you to all our students for putting forth the questions. Thank you for your time. But before we wrap up, I'd like to leave everyone with something to think about as they move forward. Uh, Now, what my dad always talked about your mind. Like you have to have a good mindset. If you have a
Yeah.
good mindset, he would say you can accomplish anything, son. So what mindset shift allowed you to move forward from building your career to leading at the highest level? And what advice would you give to film students about developing their own mind shift early on?
Be bold. There's nothing to be scared of, you guys. You're not going to fall. Just be bold. You might make a mistake. You might have to pivot. You might have to fix something. We all make mistakes. We all feel like, God, I've hit the end of the road here and I'm in a dark place. But when you hit that dark place, rather than saying there's a light at the end of the tunnel and I'm just going to head towards that light, that's really scary because now you're in a dark tunnel and you don't know, like there might be snakes over here and spiders and mushy stuff you don't want to step on. And there might be all sorts of pitfalls on the way to that light. Instead, shine the light right here on yourself so you can see what's coming and you'll get to the end of that tunnel.
Wonderful. I love that. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Any dating advice? Because since you
Oh
ran
my
all the
God.
dating stuff.
Oh God, you guys, don't go for what you want, go for what you need. Doesn't mean you can't have a fine ass partner, okay? But go for what you need, not for what you want. What do you need? I
I
need
like that.
peace. I need peace in my house. I need peace. I need my house to be a sanctuary. I need my partner to be a sanctuary for me. I need my partner to cheer for me. I need to not compete with my partner. I need to not worry about what my partner is doing when I'm not around. I need to not worry, am I going to hear from my partner? These are just like basic meat and potatoes for me. And then I need to be able to laugh all the time. But I need
Yeah.
to feel safe and secure and supported. Those are the things I need. Wants are like, can we go out and drink and have a good time and go to a club and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Those are wants. But I don't necessarily need all the swagger if I can be provided with the security.
Chelsea, I think I should call you Obi-Wan.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Oh, wait, that was Darth Vader. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It worked. I don't know why, but it just worked. Guys, get on your feet and applaud the great and powerful Chelsea Grayson. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
if
That
you
was so
need
much
me to
fun, you
follow
guys.
you, I will
Yeah,
follow you around and do everything.
cool. Okay, you're my hype man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again so much. It's been a pleasure. I have like 1,000 more questions, but I don't want to take advantage of your time because I want to keep our word. So thank you so much again. Have a fantastic day. Everybody, unmute and say thank you to Chelsea.
Thanks, you
Thank you,
guys.
Ms. Grayson.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chelsea.
Phenomenal.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chelsea.
It's great. Thank you so much. Great questions, too.